Larry Smoove from Drake Exchange. Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about Drake Exchange. Like, what is it, and how is it differentiated from other perps exchanges?
Yeah, it's a great question, especially with all the hype, pun intended, really bad joke around perp taxes right now. Yeah, it's a great question. We get asked it quite a lot, and there's a few different ways to look at it. You can either compare it directly to say hype liquid, and in that sense, like from an architecture standpoint, it's fairly similar. Obviously, we have some differences that are custom for Monad, but we really look at it more from the perspective of every L1 needs that sort of central clearinghouse, that central exchange. And it's much easier, and it's been demonstrated, it's much easier to start with perps and then add spot and things like that later. So Drake is really built to be that central pillar, clearinghouse, or whatever you want to call it, of Monad, where our architecture allows us to create different kinds of structured products, whether it's hedging products or hedging strategies that are tokenized, or different basis yield strategies that are also tokenized and composable. Um, the ways will allow people to kind of tap into our liquidity, utilize that, and also just we have what we're calling a universal asset margin, which essentially allows you to use staked monad, BTC, ETH, whatever you want at the same time as collateral. So you can be very flexible with the positions you want to open. You don't have to sell your collateral if you want to open a position or borrow against it. You can also create really interesting and fun and unique strategies. Like you can build a mini Ethena within Drake just using this. For example, take any one of the staked monad tokens, deposit as collateral. If there's a positive funding rate, you just open a short on it, the same value as your collateral, and then you're collecting yield on both the staked mon and the short from that, or not the short, you're collecting the funding rate premium. So it creates a really new sort of platform for people to build on top of. I was big as Lego. I love Legos as a kid, so I just see this as like a nice Lego set that you can buy other sets and add on top and keep building, and it just creates something more cohesive and robust as time goes on. So that's our vision for Drake, and it's custom built for Monad to kind of support Monad to plug into all the other ecosystem projects and just be that base layer that people can tap into for liquidity.
I love the analogy of the Lego builder. And like with a master builder, they can like envision like the city and how all the pieces work together. I wonder about like the initial customer segment, or
Mm-hmm.
the initial kind of the trader persona that you're going after, because it sounds like a lot of these instruments inside of Drake are can become really complicated, and a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't know, for example, like what is a delta neutral strategy? Like they have
Yeah.
no idea what to do there, but they're interested.
Mm-hmm.
So what kinds of things might you have in terms of like guiding and coaching or or educating?
Yeah, of course. And it's something we hear a lot from people. They want to do these strategies and they hear the yield that they can earn. They find them interesting. They're exciting, but it takes some technical know-how, some automation, and just some time. Unless you want to be spent that you're just glued to your screen. Yeah, you have to do things kind of right. So we're really breaking down those barriers and creating all these different strategy vaults that take this, like for example, that funding rate strategy, and it does it all for you. You just need to deposit USDC, and then you get FR USDC in return, which is just a token that tracks the value of your deposit. So hopefully would go up in time, kind of like JLP for Jupiter, HLP. But so that's also composable. So you can take your FR USDC, go put it on the lending market, borrow against it, and so that just takes away all the hassle from the user and allows them to have more flexibility, more capital efficiency with their funds as well. So we're targeting people who really they want the yield, they have the money, they just don't either have the time, maybe the technical expertise, they just don't want to do it. But whatever the reason is, we will make a platform that enables this, and as it grows, there'll be more and more strategies added. At the start, it's just going to be funding rate strategy, and then the normal market making vault strategy or strategy vault. But apart from that, we did build out like the core feature set with very advanced traders in mind. So it it mimics the feature set of a centralized exchange quite a lot, just in the way that the margin is calculated. And Redstone Bolt's actually fantastic for helping with these sorts of different margin calculations. So uh, that's great. And yeah, we have little features just like a collateral swap, which I don't think anyone's really done yet in DeFi. And essentially, if you have a trade open with BTC, it's collateral. BTC starts dumping as it's going down. Your liquidation price is changing. You're getting close to being liquidated. You can just swap out of your BTC to either to USDC, USDT without closing out your position. So then the liquidation price maybe it improves. So all those little features are things that I don't really expect retail traders to use, but maybe like a smaller market maker that's running their own shop, like they're more tailored for them. But on the surface, like we're just making it very easy to use for anyone. If you have USDC, you have any flavor of the staked Mainnet tokens, there's going to be something for you there. There's plenty of perp taxes. There's plenty of places to actually trade, but offering users an experience on top of that simplifies their life, takes away the hassle, the stress. Like that's where we think there's a lot of value.
And it sounds like it. I mean, I'm probably the quintessential like retail trader. I love trading on perp stacks, but I know nothing. And so hearing about the vaults that you're creating and how it could be like a one-stop shop. If I want to follow some strategy, then I just deposit into a vault and everything happens behind the scenes for me. That's huge. That's huge for user experience and also stickiness. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
I have my capital in Drake and it's doing all these things on my behalf, I'm not going to move it out of there. And it sounds like you guys have built something like really, really exciting and really excited for when you guys, when Monad launches Mainnet. Um, and yeah, just very, very excited about the go to market. Let's jump into Redstone. You mentioned Redstone Bolt. Redstone loves working with you and with the Drake team. Tell us how you guys are using Bolt in Drake.
So there's a few different ways. The first is like I mentioned the margin calculations. Since we're using assets that they're not just stable coins as your margin, like those values go up and down. And if you have a trade that has the price of the asset you're trading is going up and down, and the price of your collateral is going up and down, the value of those, that's a very dynamic liquidation price, especially if you have multiple positions of volatile assets all using volatile collateral. So it's just a lot of calculation. So having very quick, very trustworthy, very consistent feeds for this, every little bit helps, just so that the trader gets a better experience, less chance of we can just you can trade without worrying about being liquidated as much. Like there won't be some crazy wick and you get stopped out. Like those milliseconds, they really count in when it comes to this stuff. So that's one of the ways. Another one is if you do happen to get liquidated, usually a lot of the value goes back to parties. It doesn't go back. It goes to parties outside of the protocol, the ones that are actually facilitating liquidation. So there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but with Redstone Bolt and some other fantastic Mainnet projects, there's ways for the protocol to actually retain the value from these liquidations, called OEV, and we think it's game changing, and it provides a new revenue stream. It can help give some money back to the user that's liquidated to buffer the loss. There's a lot of that benefit that comes from that. So first off, just getting better price feeds. It's more accurate. You can enter a trade easier. You can exit a trade easier. Less risk of being liquidated. It's just much easier for us to do calculations on the back end, and also that can keep a lot of the value and revenue within the protocol and distribute it back to the users rather than leaking out towards different. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you can keep it within the protocol, within the users, that'd be ideal. So yeah, we're really excited for you guys to be able to actually you guys sorry, my tongue just broke there. Actually be able to utilize you guys on mainnet. Um, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, you mentioned the OEV solution. I know you, and we've talked about uh, our OEV solution, which we call Atom. And that's exactly the kind of feedback we're hearing is there's nothing wrong with MEV, but if we can, reduce or eliminate leakage altogether and keep the
Mm-hmm.
capital inside of the protocol, like that's just great for our space. And and
Exactly.
and 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 I think the one thing that we get a lot that we kind of get wrong in crypto a little bit is we view these protocols as like projects when honestly they're businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we think more along that, like I think if we reframed our thinking and instead of projects, we are all business owners
Mm-hmm.
and these are all small businesses. We're trying to grow these businesses. It kind of changes the way we think about things. We become kind of more focused on revenue, on user experience, that type of thing versus kind of like I don't know, more, like theoretical thinking. We
Yeah,
become more
yeah.
practical.
Less in the clouds, more grounded.
Yeah, and I like that. We need
Mm-hmm.
more of that. Um, so a question: if Redstone, Bolt, or our OEV solution Atom wasn't around, like what would Drake have to do to, be able to implement the kinds of features that you want for your users?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, actually. We There's a lot of like great Oracle providers out there, and we will, yeah, I think we'd have to just kind of aggregate a few different oracles or build out our own. Really, likely if we had all the time in the world, we'd just build out our own. But I know this is very complex and it takes a lot of engineering work, so it'd be tough to be honest. Thankfully, there are other, very quality Oracle providers out there, and Drake's built so that we can kind of aggregate Oracle feeds as well, just so that we're not reliant on one. Um, it's just don't really ever want to have a central point of failure. So we can definitely be using some as a priority and have a different weighting. But yeah, I think we just have to kind of piece something together to really achieve the same outcome as what we get from this all in one package, really.
Yeah. Tell us about your experience working with the team. Like, is it enjoyable? Are they responsive? Tell us all about that.
The Redstone team,
The Redstone team. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, they've been great. They're super quick to respond. Really good guys. It's just, you can tell that they actually care about what they're doing. That makes a big difference. There's, you can, a lot of people are just, it's a job to them and they do a great job. They do good work, but it's very different when someone is actually passionate about what they do and the value they bring. And, that it's, yeah, like Alex from Fastlane, that's who will talk your ear off for 10 hours about, MEV and what they're doing to fix it. And it's like, I don't know what you're saying half the time, but it's great. And I love the energy. I love the passion. I get the same vibe from you guys about the problems you're trying to solve and how you're going about it and innovating. It's exciting to work with you.
That's awesome. Well, appreciate that. Tell us about your road to mainnet. I guess what can users expect on day one and when Monad goes live? Anything that you can share would be great.
Yeah. So whenever Monad launches, we will be there day one. Thankfully, we started development 2-ish years ago, maybe a little more at that point, and made a few pivots along the way. But our yeah, we're really confident and excited about our day one launch. We won't have every single feature right away. We still need to get we need to get an independent audit on the funding rate vault. So unfortunately, that won't be live the first day, but pretty much everything else should be. We have a lot of different, really, I don't want to say too much, but there's going to be a lot of ways to get some extra value the first week. If you're active and a lot of fun stuff, different opportunities to earn things from maybe Drake, maybe some other protocols. Can't say for certain, but all I know is that we will have very deep liquidity for Mon day one. So if you want to trade Mon, it's going to be the place to be.
Awesome. Well, Redstone loves working with you and the Drake team, and we're excited for your launch. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.